and welcome to episode 2 of Gar Borras Rewind. Gar, this is a video segment we're going to do once a month, kind of talking about the time machine and all that goes into making it. So today, tell us first of all, where are you coming from?
I'm at Cal State Fullerton Arboretum. I'm right here by a little lake over here. You know, they got trails out here. It's a nice little nature, kind of thing. And so I figured, just pick a chill location.
Yeah, beautiful place, I must say. I've been there before. So people should go check that out. But Gar, I really enjoyed doing episode 1 of Rewind. And what I enjoy the most about this is it's totally unscripted. We don't know what we're going to talk about until we do it. But in thinking about what to talk about today, I thought a great place to start is, like we said, oftentimes when we do these episodes, we learn things along the way. I remember doing the episode on American Graffiti and discovering, hey, you know what? There was a follow-up movie to this, which myself and a lot of people I talked to did not even have a clue. So right away I thought, you know what? We're going to have to do more than just one part on American Graffiti. We're going to have to talk about this other film that nobody knows about. And that was a real interesting episode for that very reason.
Well, it was a lot better than I expected.
Yeah.
I just, I remember kind of hearing about it, and I always have that typical reaction to a second episode of a movie, or a part 2, or that kind of thing, because 90% of the time they're disappointment, and it's not as good as the original. The original, most of the time, I'd say 90% of the time, it's really, way up there. The original is always better.
Oh, sure. And that was the case with this, but what was interesting is, like, if you've seen the original movie, first of all, we learned that's the very first movie George Lucas ever did, professional movie. People think of him as the Star Wars guy, but it's interesting to learn that this is what came first.
Well, it came first, but American Graffiti, a lot of people don't know, it was like, hugely popular at that time.
Yeah.
Back in the 70s when it came out. I can't say how popular or stress enough how popular it was. It was totally unexpected by the studios that put out the movie.
Yeah.
The studios were so apprehensive about putting it out that they actually did it as a low budget movie. And when you watch the movie nowadays, you can totally tell they did it on a very, very, very low budget.
In fact, we talked about the fact that the Hollywood studio that put it out, they were expecting it to fail. Again, another
yes, that's true.
Yeah, thinking they know better than the public. And I remember doing that episode. Even my father was like, because I purchased the movie in preparation for doing the episode, wanting to kind of see the film for the first time in years. And my father and mother watched it with me. They were like, especially my dad, oh man, that movie takes me back. I remember when I saw that movie for the very first time. And again, that's what we hope to do with the time machine. And so that's, been one of my favorite episodes so far for that very reason.
For the same reason as when I watch a movie and I have very, very low expectations, and then the movie turns out to be great.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
yeah.
Those are the type of movies that I enjoy the most, the ones that I really don't expect much, and they far exceed anything that I expected, and they happen, they're kind of rare, but they do happen, and there are a ton of movies. I just posted on Facebook about a movie. Now, I know why the movie never really did well and why the public never really latched onto it. It's because of the movie's name. Yeah. They named the movie Extract. And
Yeah, yeah,
and I remember myself when I saw it for the first time, I was like going, "Hey, man, there's no interest in that whatsoever. Next, basically next." And one day, out of the blue, I found out that the guy that made Beavis and Butthead and made Office Space and made Idiocracy, he's the guy that made Extract. And
okay,
so I gave it a chance and I watched it, and it far exceeded anything I expected.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
It was so funny, and it had so many quotable lines,
yeah,
from the movie. When you watch a movie and then the next day you go to work, or the next day you're with your friends and you start repeating lines from the
sure,
movie.
sure, oh yeah, yeah,
Extract is one of those movies, and it just got totally looked over by the public. And man, I am telling you, that movie is hilarious. And that's why
yeah.
I put on the post, I said, the funniest movie you've never heard of.
Yeah, yeah. And you're so right, Gar, because oftentimes that is a sign of a hit movie or even a hit song. Very much when you hear a song and you get it over and over and it becomes a hit, you've heard it millions of times. You get that one line in the song that is kind of a catchphrase, or it sticks in your head. And very much like when you go to a movie these days, they purposely try to write the script so they got these one-liners. And I've heard where people even have stuff like that as their ringtone, you know, and stuff like that. So that is how much stuff like that affects pop culture and what is popular.
Oh my God. If anybody watches this episode and I spark somebody to actually give that movie a chance,
Yeah,
then I did what I set out to do.
great.
You
Yeah,
know what I
yeah,
mean? Because a movie that is done that well and is that
yeah,
funny, it really should have a chance at a second life. It
yeah.
really should, because I mean, it's a literal all-star cast.
Sure.
You know what I mean? It's just so many high caliber players in the movie. Gene Simmons from Kiss has an absolutely phenomenal character that he plays in the movie,
For that
and
reason,
and
I
and
got to
that's
check
just
it
a
out.
bit character.
Yeah.
It is such a funny movie. I cannot stress enough. You're actually depriving yourself of a bunch of laughs
Well,
by not watching that movie.
I'm a huge Gene and Kiss fan, and so plus your recommendation, Gar, I'm going to go check that out now because that is one that has escaped me. And just to touch a little more on our American Graffiti episode that I urge people to check out. It is a three-part episode for the fact that again we wanted to tell the complete story. And when I found out there was a second movie, I'm like, you know what? I got to go watch this so we can talk about it. We want people to know about this. And like you said, it wasn't such a bad movie. I will be honest, the first one does outshine the second one. But what was interesting about the second one is by the time the second one had come out in theaters, I think it was around 1979 when this movie was originally released. By that time, Happy Days has been on. Laverne and Shirley, Cindy Williams, and Ron Howard from those two classic TV shows were featured in the movie. And what's interesting at this point, by the time the second, it's called More Graffiti comes out, Ron Howard has had a mustache, so he does not look like the Richie Cunningham we've come to know. And there were scenes in that movie, More Graffiti, where he's actually yelling at Cindy Williams. And the character he's playing, you're like, what a jerk, man. How could he treat his. And again, and this is funny because you're watching a movie, it's just a movie. But as I was watching that movie, prepping for our episode we were going to do on it, my mind went to, oh my God, that's nothing like Richie Cunningham. How can Richie be treating Shirley like that? And of course, I'm laughing here because I'm talking about two people that used to play in a TV show, and
Yeah, and it's pre-Richie Cunningham.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But because of I guess my experience, of what I expect of Ron Howard as Richie Cunningham, that kind of like is why my mind went there, and it's just kind of funny to see that.
Well, my experience from it, the thing that I got out of it that was totally unexpected from watching more American Graffiti was, it really hit a chord with me about my childhood growing up in West Covina,
Yeah,
California,
yeah, yeah,
because it's not very far from Irwindale, where right now at the same place sits a NASCAR Irwindale Raceway, and I've been there a few times, and
yeah,
I enjoy watching races and stuff, and um, but when I was a kid, it was a drag strip,
yeah.
and the cars were so loud that you could hear the cars racing all the way from Irwindale all the way to where I lived in West Covina.
Yeah.
And granted, I mean, the cities are like they're not next to each other.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
they're not that far. It's not that far of a drive,
yeah.
to get there. But it's quite a distance for all of that sound to travel. But those cars were so loud
I mean, the
that
decibel level is
they
probably,
were deafeningly loud, and I could hear it,
yeah,
really, really loud from my house in West Covina. And so, when I was a child, I would hear the drag races, and of course, as a kid, the drag
yeah,
races, you're visualizing the slick tires and the cars popping wheelies and doing all that stuff. And so it was a really enjoyable part of my childhood with that Irwindale drag strip. And they had in More American Graffiti that drag strip that I had never seen when I was a child, and I had visualized in my head,
what it must, yeah.
about watching those cars racing and all of that stuff. And it was just totally unexpected to be able to see that drag strip in its heyday when it existed back then. It was a real charge for me.
And I'd imagine, as you just described, watching that film for the first time, that gave you an immediate connection to the film, saying, "Oh wow, I recognize that." You know,
Yes, yes. I mean, it's the whole thing about the time machine is all the special things the things we talk about had an effect on my life.
sure, sure.
But all I can say is, you know, uh, that's really, basically what I'm talking about.
Yeah, and Gar, one thing I really enjoy about doing the time machine with you is we seem to have similar interests and personalities, and we don't really we bounce. Our chemistry is great. We bounce off each other, and what I really enjoyed about doing it is like, you know, when we finish one of these episodes and then it finally gets posted the following week, I go back and listen to it, there's great pride as far as I'm concerned. Like, I almost think there's a mini production. Oh wow, okay, we got this idea to do this episode. The episode is in the can. It's been posted, and we see how people reacted. So I take great pride in it. And then the other thing that I know you agree with me on is we want each show to get better and better, and I feel like it has. And part of that is because I feel we do go back and listen to what we do. And I remember the first couple episodes, like you've joked about your Jimmy Stewart stutter, but I'll tell you, I picked up some things I do, and this, especially when we first started this. Like one thing when I listen back, I catch myself doing is and since we first started, I'm aware of it, so I try not to do it. But I know it's like first couple episodes, whatever I be talking about, then I do this a lot. Um, um, um. It's just certain patterns in our speech that everybody has. But when you start doing shows like this, you kind of listen back. Okay, I picked up on that. Another thing, I don't know if you noticed this about me, but I sure have. I will catch myself. I got a habit of saying, "That's interesting. That's interesting," and I say it almost at least 2 or 3 times per episode. And even though I am aware of it, you might catch me sometimes when we're doing these episodes, and I'm getting ready to say that's interesting, but I will think of something else to say, or some interesting trivia for you, Gar. So, because I'm aware of that. Yeah,
We all have our little personality quirks, and
but
You know,
it's what
you
makes the
know,
show work.
it
This is like
sure
you say,
does.
warts
I
and
really
all.
like
Yeah,
let me stand up and do like a 360, so
yeah,
you can, it's really beautiful here.
it sure is.
You
Yeah,
know,
yeah,
look at, just the lake behind me.
yeah.
It's
Beautiful.
so
Yeah,
nice and
yeah,
chill, just everybody, there's people walking by, going on walks and everything like that. That's kind of a thing that I'm doing, to get, some more exercise, going
for
to,
you. Yeah,
places, I'll go here and I'll go to Santa Ana trails,
there you go.
along the riverbed,
Yeah,
along the Santa Ana River, and stuff like that. And, just getting up and getting some exercise so I can be in good shape. So when I hit the stage and, I don't get winded and,
yeah.
put on a good show.
And Gar, the other thing I enjoy about doing this is, when they watch our show, it's kind of like an audio slideshow. We put pictures over it so people kind of remember stuff from that time. And I like to get prep for the show more than just doing our homework and doing our research. Like, for example, I have a huge DVD collection. We recently did an episode on Back to the Future. So I got my copy before we did the episode, like the night or two before. Usually I do it on a Friday or Saturday, and I watch the movie again. It gets me in the mood. And then, because I've seen the movie millions of times, but it helps too because if I watch it like the night before, it's fresh in my head. I can think of things to bring up during the conversation.
Well, I'm with you on that too. It really, it kind of sets the tone for the interview,
Yeah,
being
yeah,
influenced by watching the movie.
yeah.
To me, that's just that little icing on the cake, that just kind of, puts it over the top. And,
I mean,
but it's also one of those things that just shows to anybody that really, enjoys listening to this or watching these new things that we're doing, is to, it's a showing of our passion of what we're doing,
yeah,
because, it's all organic,
yeah, it really is.
including the passion for what we're doing, bringing to what we're doing, and doing the research, you don't get off your lazy butt and do the
Yeah,
research if you didn't have some kind of motivation. And the motivation for me, has always been passion, motivation for booking shows,
yeah,
passion, motivation for doing the artwork for,
yeah,
for the shows, passion,
yeah,
the motivation for working on new breakthroughs to make
yeah,
myself sound more like Axel.
yeah, yeah.
So it all takes motivation. And when we do the research for the show, that's one of those things that it's one of those indicators for the people that watch this or listen to the
Yeah.
show, how much passion we have, and that we actually do put something into it. We don't just get up there and just start,
Yeah, I mean,
winging it and
I
talking
want
and
this to
stuff
be
like
much
that.
more than, hey, I saw Back to the Future for the first time when I was 13 years old. I have not seen it since. I want to sound like I know what I'm talking about. And I will tell you, it gets so passionate on both sides, when you and me are having a conversation, whatever the topic may be. But I tell you, sometimes I lose myself, Gar. I find myself often when I go back and listen to these past episodes, um, and they all have come out really great. But what I've caught myself a few times doing, like I said, I kind of write out a script. I put it in my own words because that's important too. But I will oftentimes you'll be talking as we're recording the episode. I'll be so into what you were saying that I get lost in thought. Like you might even catch me doing this every now and then, or like you'll be talking, I'll be like, oh wow, and then my turn to speak will be coming up, and then I got it right in front of me, but I have a little brain fart. I lost my train of where I'm supposed to be.
Well, I do that too.
Yeah,
To try to thwart that,
yeah,
because usually when I talk, I bounce around a lot.
yeah,
You know, uh, I'll start talking down this avenue, but then all of a sudden I'll take a side avenue, and then the next thing you know, I'm lost, and I don't forgot what I was originally talking about. So what I usually do is to try to combat that, and it doesn't even work,
yeah.
because it still happens. you know, you don't notice this, but
Yeah,
when we're doing the time machine, I have on my computer screen on, you know, on a big
yeah,
screen, you know, like a 55-inch TV
yeah,
in
yeah,
front of me with all of my notes.
yeah, yeah. That's
You
great.
know,
Yeah,
just, so, to help to keep the flow of the show instead of having some dead air, I can go directly to the notes and then pick up, or like if there's another angle to what we're talking about that I might have forgotten about, I go to the notes
yeah,
and then I'll bring that up and stuff like that.
yeah.
But having the notes really helps with the flow
Sure, sure.
of the show. It and allows for uh to reduce the uncomfortable pauses.
Hey, Gar, this is what I do.
And
I got it.
everybody that does this
Yeah,
knows exactly what I'm
I
talking
typically
about.
got like 4 or 5 sheets of notebook paper with my notes written down. I sitting at a desk here. I got it right in front of me, so I can pull it as I need it. And what ends up usually happening is I have about anywhere from 5 to 8 pages, and it usually lasts for an hour episode. But what typically happens is what people need to know is you and I don't really talk. Sometimes we message each other on Facebook, but we don't talk ahead of time what we're going to talk about, other than what the topic's going to be. Like, okay, the latest episode is on Saturday Night Live, but you and I do our individual research, and then we meet online or we talk on. When we do the time machine, it's over the cell phone, and so it's literally me with a digital tape recorder recording our conversation. I download it into the computer, send it email to some other guy to post on the site, and he does his magic, and it comes out. It comes out beautifully. What ends up happening is I got like 8 pages in front of me, and a lot of what's interesting is you find a lot of the same stuff I do, but you also we each find stuff that the other guy um, doesn't come across, and so while may have half a page written something down that takes up half a page. You maybe say before I bring it up, and you say
Oh,
maybe in 2 or 3 words. But what's beautiful about it is I tell myself, okay, so all page 3 here, we can just skip. And what I love about it is we're able to kind of be unscripted that way. Is that okay? Well, Gar already discovered that we don't need to bring it up twice, and then the conversation ends up taking us somewhere else, anyways.
It's like a controlled organic
Yeah, yeah,
almost.
yeah, yeah.
You know what I mean? There's a certain amount of control to it, but
Mhm.
there's also a certain amount of organic to it.
Yeah,
And that's I think that's the thing that makes the show
yeah,
special.
yeah,
Is the organic of it.
yeah.
I have to bring this up. I discovered something late last night.
What's that?
I had uh, posted something on the Appetite for Destruction Facebook page,
Uh-huh.
and it was okay. I had watched a documentary about Slash,
Okay.
and it was a documentary called Raised on the Sunset Strip.
Okay.
And that documentary was phenomenal. It was so good. I could watch it 100 times
Yeah.
over. You know what I mean.
Yeah, yeah.
And but there was one story in it that just jumped out. Especially at me
Yeah.
because I have a passion for musical instruments that goes beyond playing musical
Yeah,
instruments.
yeah.
History of musical instruments, old vintage instruments, and I used to make a living selling vintage
Yeah, yeah.
musical instruments. For really high dollar, um, and that's what I used to do for a living. So I used to be considered an expert in my field, a highly regarded expert for
Wow.
25 years
Yeah.
in my field. People that worked, the high ups, the most renowned people that worked at the Hollywood store knew who I was, and I was in the loop. I
Yeah,
was,
yeah.
that's how much I was respected by the company, because there were people that were higher up in the vintage area than me, and even more highly regarded than me. and those people even knew who I was, and had a very high respect, for what I had accomplished. But getting back to what I was saying, the 59 Les Paul, it's a story about a 59 Les Paul that Joe Perry told the story in the documentary. And Joe Perry is the lead guitarist for Aerosmith.
Of course, yeah.
And back in the 80s, Joe Perry went through some really, really difficult financial times, and he had to sell his 59 Les Paul for Christmas money. And it was a pretty desperate move.
Yeah.
Because that's the only thing that you can call that, when you take a guitar like that and you wind up selling it, because it's something you keep for the rest of your life.
Sure.
And so he had to sell it, and he was, many years later, he was at a rehearsal with Aerosmith, and Brad Whitford was at the rehearsal, and they were talking about that guitar, and Brad said, "I know where your guitar is." And Joe was saying, "Well, what are you talking about?" And he opened up a guitar magazine and showed a picture of Slash. Wow. With an ocean of guitars. And right in the middle of that ocean of guitars, all of these guitars that Slash owned, was Joe Perry's 59 Les Paul. And so he he called Slash. Joe Perry called Slash and tried to get Slash to sell him his guitar back, because now Joe Perry was in a position where he could afford to buy his guitar back. Yeah. And it was flat, like I said, those are the kind of guitars you keep for the rest of your life. And so, Slash, they went back and forth, and they just couldn't work. They couldn't work something out. So Joe Perry, basically thought, well, that's it. Guitar's gone. I'll never see it again. And on Joe Perry's 50th birthday, his guitar tech came up to him and gave him a guitar, and he said, "Slash wanted you to have this." And Joe Perry opened up the case, and it was his 59 Les Paul. Oh. Slash had given it to him for his 50th birthday. And it was just such a beautiful story, such a heartfelt story about two people that understood, about the historic value of the guitar and the personal value of the guitar, and how, how coveted it was. And I was so enamored by how beautiful that story was.
Oh, sure.
I posted it on Facebook, telling that story about that guitar. Wow. And I just posted it, and I didn't even think anything of the post. Well, I went on Facebook last night, 6 days later, and I discovered that post went viral.
Wow.
I had never had that happen to me before. I had posted things that had gotten a lot of reactions.
Struck a nerve.
But this one, I took a picture of it, because 6 days in 6 days it got 17,000 likes.
Wow, Gar Borras, you hit
17,000 likes.
Wow.
It got over 2,000 shares.
Oh my God.
And it got 470 comments.
Wow.
That is the true definition of viral.
I think so.
Post, I had never had that happen to me before. Really? That post went viral, and I discovered it last night. So, if I go back a week, who knows what the number of because once it goes viral, it just keeps piling on and piling on.
Yeah.
So all I can say is I never posted it for that. The only reason why I posted it was the passion for the story.
You right here. Yeah.
And oh my God, that is it's just like, you can try to post something 1,000 times and try to post it to make it go viral, and it'll never happen.
Yeah, I'm with you. Gar Borras,
And
yeah.
here is one that just took off like a rocket ship.
Gar Borras, congratulations, man. I can't believe it's time to wrap it up again. I look so forward to doing this again next month. This came out even better than the last one. This has been a ton of fun. And next week, we're going to do part 2 of the Saturday Night Live, which will be on the Breakout Stars. So be on the lookout for that, folks. Thanks so much, Gar. I'll be in touch with you, my friend.
Oh, love it,
Have a
love it,
great day.
love it.